also had two other points if you got time.
Sure.
Okay. Most of my acquaintances cannot comprehend an economy that is not based on Federal Reserve notes. I don't know how they're going to handle any economic significant change. It's just, mind-boggling that they cannot comprehend beyond that.
And by the way, we're already in the change, folks. Over 70%. I've had the head of the New York Business School. I've had Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz. I've had all these top economists on this show, and they've said around 70 to 75%. They all debate that. Is dollar devaluation is why, from corn to gasoline to gold, is the reason we've seen doubling and tripling in those. And absolutely, now we're going to see an acceleration of that. And I talk to people, and they just can't get out of the stock market. They don't understand what we're telling them.
Next point. Are you familiar with the last verse of the Star-Spangled Banner?
Refresh my memory.
Well, you want me to read it to you?
Well, I know the story. He was out on the ship during the battle and wrote the poem.
Yeah, but this is the verse, the actual verse. And I can sing it or I can read it to you.
Whatever you like.
Oh, thus be it ever, when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation.
And I forgot that in the last 100 years, they have taken that out of all the events, and they don't read that final verse.
Well, it's conspiratorial and wicked.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
May I continue?
Sure.
Then conquer we must when our cause it is just. Of course, right now it isn't. And this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So they took out the next to last line.
Well, I'm not sure what they took out, but that's the last one.
Well, you never hear them sing that.
Oh, no.
That's amazing. Instead of me interrupting, read through that all again.
Okay. Oh, thus be it ever, when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Amazing call. And now the globalist, the oligarchy, the aristocracy, has come in and taken over our government and uses it as an engine of evil. They're afraid that people may wake up and try to take this country back, so they're putting in a police state to block it. And we're in very serious waters. Okay, let's go ahead and take another call. Go ahead and air Tyler for me, please. Tyler from Canada, you are on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, you really woke me up to a lot of things. Thanks for your show. Just like to say, as far as solutions, I mean, I got all my money in silver and gold, and I'm encouraging others to do the same. I'm growing my own food. And I went to an organic festival yesterday, and we were listening to this guy, Percy Smizer, talk about how Monsanto seeds blew into his organic farm and contaminated them. You might have heard about it. But basically, he knew it was about control over, life in general. But everyone else, all the other speakers, would just talk about, just write your representative, get them to pass a law that says, labeling is mandatory or something like that.
Well, for those that don't know about Percy Smizer, I've interviewed him several times, and his case has been through court and it's been proven. Monsanto, he had the bill of sale. He never bought their seeds for canola up in Canada, and the same thing's happened in the Dakotas and Texas and everywhere else. I've interviewed a lot of farmers. And then they fly over your land with aircraft and drop Roundup bombs that then kill large areas of your plants, violating your property rights. And if even one or two don't die, they know those plants have their Terminator seed genetics, and then they sue you claiming that you have infringed on their patent, when in court they admit it is their seeds that have blown and been carried by birds into your fields.
Yeah, and well, anyway, after he was done doing his speech, some other guy came up and he was talking about how a meat eater riding a bike has a bigger carbon footprint than a vegetarian driving a car. And, everyone's like, yeah, and even after he talked about control, they still don't see, like, all of them exhale carbon dioxide, and they just don't get
That's what plants breathe. And we have the Club of Rome and CFR and UN documents where they say it's about a tax on human activity, a way to socialize all of our wealth. Absolutely. In fact, I have a story here out of the Mail Online. The floating cities that could one day house climate change refugees, and they have pictures of the devastated seashore and everybody basically, we're going into this huge emergency when carbon dioxide has been 14 times higher than it is now and is a life-giving gas.
Yeah, and just another thing, I'm in Vic 911 Truth, and we just got back from the Swap and Shop, which is like this big garage sale at the Western Speedway, and like at least 50% of the people that walk by like already know 9/11 was an inside job, but so we don't. I think a lot of Canadians know, but they're like, it's like the brave new world already. They're just like, yeah, government's corrupt, everyone's corrupt.
Absolutely, but let me guess, you guys were there as 9/11 Truth educating people.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Good job, my friend. Yeah, for those for Americans that are hiding under a rock and don't know, there are hundreds of polls. Zogby, Mason-Dixon, Angus and Reid, New York Times. There are hundreds. The average poll is around 55%. You can look at all the different ones. Believe 9/11 is a total inside job. 84% in an Angus and Reid for the Wall Street Journal believe the government's covering up something. So that shows the power of the people. I was really the first guy, the lone guy on the day of 9/11, saying it was an inside job because I had seen the documents and knew they were planning something. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more of your calls, more stimulating information, more thought-provoking info. Stay with us. I've got a caller here, Harley from New Braunfels, Texas. He says, you're wrong about the peso. Now, they just told me about this caller about 60 seconds ago, and I went on Google and went to X-rates, and I ran out of time before I got on air to try to check what it is today, because it changes day to day. But I know I was reading the Associated Press about 2 weeks ago, and it showed the peso at 5.3 to the dollar. So I went on air and said 5-1. And while he's talking, I'm going to try to search around, and because it doesn't just let you, it'll show you the peso, but then the dollar's on another page. I've got to put the two in here and compute it. Let's go ahead and go to Harley in New Braunfels, Texas, who says I'm wrong. Go ahead, Harley.
Yeah, Alex, listen, I'm certainly not going to defend the dollar. Everything you just said was true. But you had a caller last week say that he was down in Mexico and he got 5 pesos to the dollar. And then I just heard you repeat it.
No,
and
that's not where that came from.
I went into shock.
I was saying 5-1 was in the news, 5.3, and then the caller called in and agreed. So I didn't get that from a caller.
Well, you didn't. You might not have gotten it from a caller, but I heard it over the air by a caller last week. And he's full of it. I'm looking right now at xrates.com. The peso is sitting at 10.36. Now, everything you said about the dollar is true, but when you said it's been devalued to the peso 5-1, brother, that's way wrong. And I got friends in Mexico. I used to live in Monterrey. Like I said, I went to shock when I heard that, and I checked it out, and it was not true, and it's not true now. And just for your information, I show the euro sitting at 1.57 today. So it's even worse than what you just said. So the fiat currency.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. I keep all the news I get in big, giant stacks. And I'm telling you, about 2 weeks ago, I believe it was Associated Press. Now, it may have been some currency spike. I know all the currency markets are going crazy and up and down. And so certainly now that may be the case. I mean, talking to you and sitting here, it's hard to talk and chew gum at the same time. As they say, I'm on the same site. You're able to sit there and do the calculation. My whole point is that me saying that and the caller calling in and agreeing, whether it's 10-1 or whatever, if you know the history of this, because I was asking family about it last night, hasn't the peso been at certain times when they've had crashes like 100-1?
Well, I've been down to Mexico when you could get 350 to 1, and then it changed overnight. I mean, that's the Mexican peso's problem.
And was it 12.5 to 1? What it was in the 60s and 70s for a long time? It was at 12.5 to 1.
When they had the Olympics in the 60s, it was 8 to 1.
Yeah.
And it spiked up to 300 and something at one point.
Well, just my uncle did a lot of work down there. He was saying it was 12 to 1 for more than a decade.